All right. So thank you all for having me. I know I'm coming at the end, so I'm the last person that you have to listen to before the conference ends. And I know that over the last couple days, however long this has been going, you've seen and you've heard a lot of different incredible possibilities. And technology is changing absolutely everything, and it feels like the pace just keeps going faster. But my goal with this conversation is to actually slow things down a bit. My goal is to have you stop and pause and reflect and really be thinking deeply about the question of, is all this technology that we're evaluating, we're looking at, we're implementing, is it enhancing, or is it going to destroy the work and human experience? And it is one of the best litmus tests that we should all be thinking about as we look at the work we're doing. And if human history has shown us anything, it is that whenever we use technology to dehumanize other people, someone is always losing. And so right now, more than ever, I talk a lot on the technology front about the philosophical and ethical considerations as we look at the forefront. And quite frankly, this may be the most important question that every single person sitting there listening to this may be facing. And I'm not just talking about artificial intelligence. While AI has garnered a lot of attention, it's taken a lot of the air out of the room, there's a lot more things to consider right now as we look at the technological forefront. We've got extended reality technology that's maturing. We've got hardware maturing that is, we're not far off from the idea of digitally enhancing the analog world in every aspect. Generative AI, all of its implications are hitting knowledge workers like they never have before. Right now, I would anticipate in the coming years, every single job is going to be impacted. We think about robotics. I look at robotics that are happening, and they're a little bit further out, probably another 15 to 20 years before some of the advanced robotics get here. But in our lifetime, this is all coming at us. Now, you may be thinking, who is this guy who came to talk about this and ask us to pause and think? So professionally, if you don't know who I am, I'm a learning and technology analyst. I spend a lot of my time exploring and reflecting on technology. I put a lot of content out on YouTube and LinkedIn. But personally, I'm also a devoted husband, and I have 7 children under the age of 12. And you might think, why does that matter? Why do you bring that up at a HR technology conference? But it matters a lot because the decisions we're making today for the workplaces we're in right now are decisions that aren't just going to affect us. They're not just going to affect the employees that we oversee. They're going to affect our kids, and they're going to affect our kids' kids, and they're going to affect the generations to come. And earlier I mentioned that using technology and its ability to humanize or dehumanize people is a great litmus test. And I said we don't have a great history of doing that. We also don't have a great history of thinking long term. It's really easy to hear about all these interesting and fascinating possibilities and think about what could it do for us this quarter, or what could it do for us this year? How could we change things? But we have to think further than that. We have to think beyond even potentially our own lifetimes, because a lot of the technology that is out there right now and that's coming at breakneck speed, it's omni-use, which is fantastic and terrifying. And what I mean by omni-use technology is that for every single opportunity out there for it to do incredibly wonderful things, there's an equal opportunity that it could do absolute destruction. And that's both exciting and terrifying. And I don't think it's one or the other. It's just both. And we have to sit with the discomfort of that reality as we think about the choices and the decisions we make. Now, what I mean by that is the potential to do the extraordinary is real. I explore the possibilities of things all the time. And so as a chief learning officer, I'm looking at the fact that we can do personalized learning for people like never before. We can truly understand the individual, unique needs of every person, and in many ways provide them a unique personal experience that dynamically changes based on their pace, their needs, their growth, what the organization needs. It's fantastic. I think about what's possible with accessibility and globalization. The fact that you may not speak English as your first language, and I only speak English, is quickly becoming irrelevant because technology can almost in real time change my language into whatever language it needs to be for whoever's listening. I think about the different neurodiversity needs of different people and the fact that technology can understand those and adapt content and can adapt experiences to people's unique things. That's absolutely incredible. We can meaningfully and measurably develop skills in organizations. We can understand where people are and show them different pathways than they've ever considered. Instead of thinking, this is the job I went into, now I just have to continue down this path, we can say, but there's so much more. Your skills can go here. They can take you there. We can completely reimagine what work can look like. We can take jobs that were considered dead end and say they don't have to be. We can take some of those robotic activities out and let people focus on the higher order activity. We can truly free people up to do higher order, really important work. And to me, that gets me extremely excited. And I love seeing the incredible, wonderful possibilities that can happen. And I think those are decisions that we're all looking at now. Yet, we can't ignore the fact that the potential for absolute chaos is equally true. I look at some of the work that's happening in learning and development right now. And with artificial intelligence, we can create content faster than we ever could before. We can do it with less human intervention. We can just churn out content like never before. But is that what people really need? People are already overwhelmed and overworked trying to understand just the state of where things are today. And the risk is we can cause absolute cognitive overload for them by simply letting go of our decision making and say, here, let the machines just create things at a pace that we can not control. I think of the fact we can create misinformation, even within our own workforce, within our organization. This is a real risk on the personal front, but even within corporations, this is a real risk as we think about the erosion of trust that's coming. As people start to question, is anything real anymore? We have to recognize we can contribute to that or we can improve that. I think about the loss of foundational skills. As we look at what AI can do, if we're not careful, we can actually make people dumber. If we don't take the time to actually deconstruct work and understand what components of work, what foundational skills do people still need? Where do we need to lean into those and still build skills that we go, well, the machines could do that. Well, maybe they can, but maybe there's still a component of that they need. And as a father who used to be a math teacher, this is very much one of those areas where I go, what is that right level of mathematics that my children are going to need as they go into a digital future? I think about the fact that we're in a existential isolation crisis. People are hungry for human connection, and yet technology is making the promise of not needing to interact with human beings. AI can solve that for you. AI can take care of this. We can offer you a digital world. But this isn't something that we should necessarily be substituting, and the consequences are serious. I talk to a number of companies right now who are evaluating whether to turn decisions over to artificial intelligence or to let robots make decisions or do work without the contextual understanding of the human workers that have been doing this for years. I look at our tendency to over-rely on data and no longer look and do the deep, hard, critical thinking work that we as HR professionals need to do. And we've got the possibility of massive job disruption and loss. And I don't go into these possibilities for chaos as a doomsday planner or to think about things like that. But we need to think about them. We need to consider them. We need to recognize that these aren't just a possibility, they're an inevitability if we don't take the time to think, to look around corners, to do the hard human work that needs to be done as we think about all these incredible technologies that are out there that are making a lot of incredible promises that maybe we don't necessarily want to take them up on. Now, as the conference finishes up, as you go out, as you go home, as you think about all the different things you've learned, I really love Uncle Ben's quote from Spider-Man, which is, "With great power comes great responsibility." And as I look at us as HR practitioners, I see us as the digital guardians of our workforce and of the people. And so for us as professionals, more than ever, we need to lean into our digital acumen. We need to understand these technologies. Doesn't mean we need to go ridiculously deep, but we need to understand what we're working with. We need to think about these decisions. I often tell people and my teams and the people that I work with, now is the time to go slow so that we can go fast, but go fast intelligently and not foolishly, and not end up having to clean up messes down the road that we never considered we were even making. And most importantly, no matter what you do today, beyond, in the work you do, we need to make sure we're putting people at the center of all of it. That is probably the most important thing and will be the number one determiner of success in these technological decisions we're going to be making over the next few years. So that's what I have for you as some concluding thoughts, and I would just encourage all of you to buckle up, hang on. It's going to be a very bumpy ride over the next few years, but an exciting one to say the least. I've seen the possibilities, and once you see them, there's no going back. And I said this recently to a group of other leaders that if you don't like change, you may want to consider retiring now, because the amount of change we're going to have to lead and we have the opportunity to lead through is more than ever. So I appreciate you having me here, for letting me close down the conference. And with that, I'll transition over to questions and answers, and any specifics that I can share or perspective I can give as we wrap up the conference, I'm happy to do that now.